Well, I'm talking about Nick Rekieta, Aaron Imholt, and also Patrick Melton. And now, what have we learned so far? Well, Aaron Imholt has a harassment restraining order out currently on Nick and one currently out on Patrick Melton. Now, they're in the ex parte stage, meaning Aaron met the initial burden of proof to have this go forward. So until their hearing, the order's in effect. And Melton and Nick aren't doing great jobs of showing they're not harassing people because they can't quit talking about Aaron. But there are some updates in the entire story right now, and we're going to start with those. So, what do we know so far? Well, we have. So, what did we see get filed this past week? Well, this was filed, and it's from PCG, your neighborhood law firm. Your neighborhood law firm. And what do we know so far? Well, it's in the case of Aaron Imholt versus Nicholas Rekieta. This says, Dear Stearns County District Judge, I have just been retained by Mr. Imholt in this harassment restraining order matter scheduled for July 15th at 3:30 p.m. So, yes, a couple days ago, I will be in a mediation that will last all day that day. I am respectfully requesting a brief continuance of the hearing. Very truly yours, Ross W. Montgomery. And it was sent to Nick's attorney, Frank White, Esquire. Now, what happened in response? Well, good old Frank White, if you guys remember, this is the man who brought us the watermark defense, the brilliant Frank's motion that just wasn't recognized in its time for the brilliance that it was. I mean, that's really what happened there to Frank White. He was really, the man was ahead of his time. It's just that Judge Wenzel didn't understand. That's what happened, guys. Really, that's what happened. Judge Wenzel didn't understand, but that brilliant Frank's motion that Nick totally wasn't involved in. Well, so anyway, yes, the Barnes Walker himself, Frank White, is representing Nick and Patrick Melton. And it's like, Melton, Melton, you can find a good lawyer, buddy. Don't remember, this is Nick's attorney. Nick keeps saying this guy was incompetent and didn't do his job right multiple times. Melton, if you're out there, you can get a better attorney. I mean, you listen to Nick talk shit about this guy and you let this guy represent you. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's very foolish, but whatever. So anyways, Frank White, that same day, notice this was sent 2:32 p.m. In less than 8 minutes, Frank White had a response. And he says, Dear Judge, this correspondence is submitted in immediate response for requesting a continuance by Aaron's attorney. He says, the respondent opposes this request. Now, did he have a chance to talk to Nick in 8 minutes, or did he do this on his own? Petitioner's counsel is aware that respondent opposes this request, and his failure to inform the court thereof necessitates this correspondence. Now, what is he trying to say here? He's saying Aaron's counsel is aware that we oppose the request, and the failure to inform thereof necessitates a correspondence. We request the hearing take place as scheduled on July 15th at 3:30 p.m. Respectfully, Francis H. White III. Now, we oppose it. I mean, why? Why are you opposing it? He retained counsel. This isn't, just courtesy as between attorneys. Generally dictates you won't get in the way of this. And that's just common courtesy, because if you oppose it, well, you're kind of acting like an asshole. And that looks bad to the judge, but also looks bad to opposing counsel in the future, because let's say something happens to Frank. Something happens like something bad happens to him the morning of the hearing and he can't make it. Hey, man, can we continue this? You just told this other guy to go himself. What do you think he's going to do when it matters? He's going to tell you to yourself. More importantly, the judge knows now you're being an asshole. Why do you want to look like an asshole in front of the judge before you even get to the hearing? I don't get it. But remember, this man gave us a Frank's motion. Frank wrote the Frank's motion, and maybe he's just unrecognized in our time. Just, you don't do this. This is not common courtesy anywhere you go. I don't care if you're in, New York City or Boston, where, Tim Bradle and Hank Brennan are. You try, like, it's not a request by the defendant or the parties involved. It's an attorney like, look, man, I'm already scheduled with another client that day. I can't make it. Cool. We'll have to figure that out. But instead, Frank White wanted to be about it. Like, or if Nick really told him to do this, like, it's even worse because, Nick, you used to be an attorney. You used to go to court. You understand. Well, I don't know if you understand courtesies. I don't know if you understand social cues, but you should. You should have. So if Frank did this on his own, that's sad, man. You know better. You know better. They call him the Barnes Walker, but what are the odds Nick is wearing white skin and necktie? I mean, I still think that based on the way the shittiness of those filings, but who knows? Who knows? So what do we know right now in the meantime? So the court, and this is interesting how the court does stuff in Minnesota, but this is an interesting way. So the judicial officer who's doing the hearing jumps in off the top rope, and he comes in and he says, look, we're going to handle this. And he's like, I got this. And what does he say? And he's like, I'll make a decision here. The request for continuance is granted, and it should have been. Aaron's got an attorney. That attorney's like, hey, man, give me some time, brother. I need to work on stuff. And you should have said, okie dokie. But you didn't. Plaintiff's counsel was recently retained, and that's a very critical point. That's a very critical and salient point. Look, this guy just got his attorney. Oh, but you know what? The plaintiff had previously succeeded in proceeding self-represented in 2 of these filings. And Aaron did. The undersigned is filling in for review, and that means this guy here, Oli Fedidin, he's a judicial officer. He's only filling in for review and signing duties for the upcoming master family calendars. And he says 2 requests were pending this afternoon. And he says first, in the first case here, the court reviewed and approved Frank White's request for a Zoom appearance for an out-of-state client. Did Frank, did you consult with Aaron about that? Did you ask Aaron? Because Aaron's, before this, he was pro se, right? So you're going to cry about a continuance, but you said, please, can we make Mr. Melton need to appeal by Zoom? Please, Judge. What a bitch. You ask for something like that, and then you turn around and try to Aaron like that? That's how you earn a shit reputation. You don't do that. And I would love to know that answer. And if I was Ross Montgomery, I'd be like, wait, Your Honor. Did he consult? Did he consult with Aaron? Now it's like, once again, as I kind of alluded to earlier, chat, when you around, people will back. You know what? But Ross is a man who's above that. But Frank deserved to get with here. Yeah. And then here's what happened. He says both respondents in that file and the respondent in this file, so Nick and Melton, are separately represented by Mr. White. In this case, the plaintiff is represented by Mr. Montgomery, and it is unclear as yet whether the plaintiff intends to proceed via self-representation in that file. I'm pretty sure that Montgomery's going to represent them both because that doesn't make much sense otherwise. And the court notes that Mr. White had previously requested and been appropriately granted a continuance in the Melton case because of the timing of the originally set hearing conflicted with another matter. Once again, Frank White, you are the biggest in the world. You're going to do this? You're going to sit here and do this, man? Remember, Melton, this is the legal acumen and savvy and strategic planning and shit. The guy you hired. Like, you might want to get a new attorney, brother. There's still time. You've got till the 23rd. You got 6 days. Get that checkbook out, man. I'm sure you can find somebody for some money here real quick. But this is fucking pathetic. This is bitch made. And yeah, the judicial officer's right. Now the timing of the July 15th hearing conflicts with the matter for Mr. Montgomery. Respondent's objection, presumably because this date works for his attorney, is not enough to defeat the reasonable request for a limited continuance. Yeah, I just can't do it this day, man. Let's pick another day. Given the similarities in issues and parties, this is another important thing here. The court will attempt to set the separate matters on the same date to mitigate confusion and conserve party resources. And that is something that probably should have happened from the start. The court should have probably already been working on this, but yes, consolidating these. Not at the same time, but certainly Nick and Melton are going to go right after each other, from what I understand in the hearings. And it's going to be very interesting because if at any point, Melton or Nick blame each other for something, there's going to be a potential for a conflict of interest for Frank White, depending on how these hearings go. That could be very interesting. Could be very interesting. We'll see. We'll see. So what do we know in the meantime? So what are the hearing is set for? Nick and Aaron is set for July 23rd at 2 p.m. in a hearing in Stearns County. So please let it be streamed to Zoom. I don't think it will. James Olin says, I can't believe you're wrong, according to so many practicing wine moms. Like I said, I don't know what their deal is. I think Aaron's going to lose. Are they mad about that? What's their problem? That I'm not going to say Daddy Melton Uber alles, Daddy Nick Uber alles? I don't know if they understand what that means. That means above everyone else. It's German, girls. What more do you want? Like, you can't sit there and argue that they haven't acted like idiots and dickheads in the meantime, too.